Hi everyone, in this video I'll be talking about interpreting the grade 10 reading assessment data. So first you'll go into Dossier and then you'll go into student profiles. Once you're here, you'll see a list of your students and then you'll go into the reports tab. From there you'll go on to the left and hit reading assessment. Your reports can be results. School year is 2022-2023. In this case, we'll be discussing division-wide data, but then in your screen, you'll be looking at just your own school and your own grade. We're going to be talking about grade 10 reading assessment. The period will leave as pre, and the data, instead of score, we're going to go into here and click on question 1. So from here, you can see the chart that's been generated. It says question 1, the school year, the grade 10, the pre-period, and then we're going to be looking at all schools here. Now in question 1, what we've noticed is there is the legend here, NA and M, a score of 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now from this chart you can tell that 34 students have scored 1 in question 1, 101 students have scored 2 in question 1. For a score of 3, 116 students division-wide has scored 3, and then 22 students division-wide have scored 4 on question 1. So what does this mean? So what I have here is what question 1 looked like for the student. So the text was called Sunk, Canada's Worst Maritime Disaster. Question 1 was getting ready to read, set a purpose, ask questions, and predict. So the student was asked to use the diagram, photos, charts, sidebar, heading, text features to write some questions that they might think might be answered in this section. So if a student scored very well in question 1, that meant that they were very good at discussing and figuring out which questions might be answered in the text. So now let's look at question 2. Question 2 is engaging in reading. The student will be looking for important ideas, summarizing, and making notes. One of the many ways to demonstrate understanding of written materials to organize main ideas and support details in note form. In the space below, organize the main ideas and supporting details from the selection using a graphic organizer of your choice. Represent your thinking using your own words, where appropriate. So question 2 has 2 parts. The first part is knowledge and understanding, and the second part is communication. So let's see how the students did. So up here, I'm going to select question 2, part 1. Okay, so this is interesting. It looks like the majority of students scored a 2 for question 2, part 1. So we have 113 students in total scored a 2, and then 90 students scored a 3, 39 students scored 4, and then 34 students scored a 1. What's interesting here is that more students scored 4 than in question 1, but also more students scored 2 compared to question 1, and then there's fewer 3s in question 2. So let's go back to the questions again. We'll see here. So question 2, part 1 is knowledge and understanding. So if they scored well in this portion of the question, that means that their understanding of the text was very well. Now let's say we want to look at the data and see which students didn't do so well. In this case, this will be division data. In your case, you'll see a list of your own students. So what you can do is click into the chart, and then you can see the list of students who scored a 1, who might need help in understanding the text. What you can also do is export to PDF and export to Excel. It's up to you what you want to do. I like to export to Excel because then I can sort the data. You can also click export to PDF, in which case it'll generate this list as a PDF, and then you can print it off and then use it as sort of a checklist. And just so you know, this export feature can be done with any of the bars in the graph. There are the 2s, the 3s, and the 4s. Okay, so let's go on to question 2, part 2. And this one was communication. So same question, just a different part of it. And it looks very similar to part 1 of question 2. We have quite a few students scoring 2 out of 4. And 85 scored a 3 out of 4, and then 41 scored a 4 out of 4. Again, you can click on to the bar graph and see a list of student names, which you can export. If you go into question 3, this is what the data looks like. Lots of 2s and 3s. Now, what was the question? So question 3 was about engaging in reading. Students are meant to infer, visualize, and find important ideas. To this day, the exact cause of the tragedy has not been determined. Using information from this selection, how might you explain the causes of the disaster? So it looks like the majority of students can somewhat explain the causes in an appropriate and good enough manner. Again, you can click into here and export your list of students and their scores. We'll go on to question 4. This data looks a little bit different. We see that most of the students are scoring 3 out of 4s, and then fewer are scoring 2 out of 4, so that's good. And this is question 4, part 1. If you see P1, P2, again, there are different parts of the questions. Now let's see what the assessment looked like. So that was reacting to the reading, making connections, synthesizing, and evaluating the reading. The students read, why do you think the story of the Titanic is widely known and documented, while the story of the Empress of Ireland remains relatively unknown? Explain your answer using information from the selection and your own ideas. So application was part 1, so students did pretty well on that. Now if you go over to part 2, and that was communication again. Looks like fewer students scored a 3 and more scored 2. So if you compare part 2 and part 1, students did better on question 4, part 1. And again, feel free to click onto the bar graph and export your student list. Last question. Okay, so it looks like lots of students scored 2s and 3s, with the majority of students scoring 3 on question 5 in the pretest of the grade 10 reading assessment. We're looking at question 5, reacting to the reading, reflect on strategies, and metacognition. So A, effective readers consistently use different strategies to help them make sense of their reading. List any strategies you use while you read. And then B, find a place in the selection where you use a reading strategy to help you understand the content, explain what you did, and how it helped your understanding. So this is the student reflecting on their own learning and their own understanding and how they understand of the material. Looks like most of them are doing okay to well in terms of their own understanding of the material. And then there's 45 students who might need help with their metacognition, because 45 students scored 1 in question 5, division-wide, of the pre-assessment for grade 10. And then 23 students scored 4 out of 4, so they did very well. And again, you can click into here and grab your list of students. The other thing that I'd like to mention is you can eliminate certain bar graphs if you click on the legend. So here, if I don't want to look at students who have scored a 3, I don't have to. I just toggle that off, and if I want to show it again, I click on it again. I'll demonstrate with 4. Or if I don't want to see the bar graph with 4s, students who scored 4, I just click on here and then it just shows me NA and M for 1, 2, and 3. I can also hide NA and M and then show 4 if I wanted to. So here, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's how you would interpret the reading assessment results. When you're going through this on your own, what I would recommend is pulling up the assessment. So the actual reading assessment and what the kids are seeing, so that you can make those connections yourselves and see where your students are strong in and where they might need a little bit more support. It's a lot easier when you know what questions they struggled with and which questions they did well on, and so you can allocate your time and resource with your professional discretion. Okay, that's it. Have a good day.